All right, so I'm here with Cory Stevens, VSH queen breeder. Cory, how many hives have you got now?
That's a good question. Somewhere between 150 and 200. I don't have 200. I've got enough wood for 200, but I don't have them all full. Okay. So I would guess 150, 160-ish probably.
And how many of those would be starters or nukes, and how many production colonies?
That's a good question. I run a few, I've got about 100 double 5-frame nukes, and the remainder are 10-frame Langstraw.
Okay. And how many bee yards do you have?
3.
How far apart are they?
One's about 7 miles or so approximately to the southwest, and then I've got some that are just south of Dexter.
Okay.
So they're probably, what would you say, 15, 20 miles south?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So you're not spread out too much, not too much
bad.
driving.
Yeah.
This is your biggest yard. You've got a lot of bees here because your house is just right here.
It's the easiest for me to test.
Yeah.
Like queen rearing, I do a lot of queen rearing out of this yard, and like whenever I'm doing VSH testing, most of them end up here.
How many hives have you got in this yard?
Close to 80, I think, and then that's 5 frames and 10 frames.
Yeah.
Like you can see there's a mix of it, and they kind of move around.
Do they make it pretty well? 80 hives in one yard without robbing and without feeding too much?
Yeah.
You've got some good floral sources around here.
It's not bad. I've added, the wildflower or the pollinator plot. I planted about 14 acres of diverse forage. I'm just south of a state wildlife area.
Yeah.
And we've got some row crop within forage distance too, some soybeans and stuff. So
yeah,
it's not bad.
Row crops are a double-edged sword.
They are, yeah. You get a little bit of spray.
You get a lot of nectar from them, but you can also get nuked.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a trade-off. Yeah, I've got cotton actually within forage distance. That yard I was saying is about 7 miles southwest of here. Irrigated cotton, so I guarantee you they probably got something off of that.
Yeah. How many queens are you rearing each year?
2,000 plus.
And you've got an interesting queen rearing model that we've already touched on, but you don't sell mated queens.
Right.
You sell nukes with mated queens, or you sell virgins or queen cells.
Yep. Yep. Or artificially inseminated breeders, but I don't sell a whole lot of those.
Yeah.
It's a smaller volume. Most of them are virgins. Yeah.
So let's talk about the reasons that you don't sell mated queen first.
Yeah.
They eat up equipment, they eat up time, and they eat up your labor.
Yep.
And you could just as easily grade that nuke out that queen is in and then sell the nuke for enough that it's not worth it to sell the queen out and then drop a cell and have to get them rebuilt and all this.
Exactly. I sold them for $225 the past couple years. Even imported nukes are bringing 200 pretty easily in Missouri now. But yeah, even if I sold them for $50, which most people don't want to pay that for a queen, I'd have to do at least 4 rounds. Let her set 3+ weeks, pull it, put another one in, let her set 3. Because that's the thing is I was selling premium. They were in the nukes for a minimum of 3 weeks, a lot of them 4 weeks before they got pulled out, and you could see nice patterns. So I don't even know if my season's long enough to do that many. Whereas if I just sold the whole
That's
thing.
a key. You're not in Hawaii or South Texas or Florida.
Right.
You're in Southeast Missouri, and you have winter here.
Yeah, reliably mid-April to mid-June is all I can get. I can get a little bit earlier some years, and I can get later some years.
Yeah.
But not always.
What zone are you in? Do you know?
That's a good question.
You're a little bit north of me. I think I'm in 7B.
I was thinking I was in 7. I could be wrong.
So you're probably either in 6A or 7B, somewhere in there.
Okay.
You're maybe 100 miles north of me.
Okay.
So your average low temperature is going to be 0 to -5.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get sub-zero at times, but it's usually short-lived.
Yeah.
But for efficiency's sake, I stopped selling mated queens and I started pushing virgins. The downside to it, I wouldn't say there's a downside, it's super logical, especially if you want high quality queens and you want specific genetics and you want to put those genetics in your bees. Even if you're buying virgins from me, all the drones that they're producing, regardless of what they mated with, should be VSH drones. So you can stick that in your population and flood your area with that type of drone. And I don't have the labor tied up in it. The downside or the pushback I get is cultural or historical, because everybody expects them to be mated, and they want the queen producer to take it on the nose, and any ones that miss or whatever, you know what I mean? They only want the heart out of the watermelon.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sell the heart out of the watermelon. So,
well, as a business model, it is very interesting because it's more efficient for you to sell a cell or a virgin to a beekeeper like me in Middle Tennessee. I'm 4 hours away. You overnight those to me.
Next day air,
And I put them in a mating nuke. They go out and mate with my local drone population. So I've got a locally adapted hive.
Immediately.
You send those bees to Vermont, and they're going to mate with Vermont drones, and they're going to winter better than if you sent them a queen mated in Missouri.
I mean, I've got a lot of them up by the Canadian border that I get favorable results from.
They're getting the locally adapted traits from the drone population locally, but you are pushing VSH traits into that beekeeper's operation.
And it's surrounding feral colonies as well, because you're affecting them too.
So
the whole area.
Now, as a business model, it requires more customer education.
True, yeah, because a lot of people, and like I said earlier, a lot of people, once they find out I'm not selling mated queens, they move on.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, which is okay. You know, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't want to mislead them in any way. I want them to know what they're getting.
You're not selling an easy fix. So your customer, I would say, is more of an experienced beekeeper trying to do something with their genetics.
Generally,
rather than, oh, my queen died, I don't know why or how long they've been queenless, but I need a queen.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
I get a few of those, but like, I mean, I ship them only next day air, so I'm up front with them. Like, I don't have a minimum order. Like, if you want to pay, you know, twice of what your queen cost and next day a virgin and then take the risk, I mean, I won't tell you no, but I want you to know what the risk is. But I also have a bunch of people that do that and are like, oh, fixed my colony, it worked out great. You know what I mean? I followed your protocol and I'm back in action, and that's my best colony now, you know? So it totally depends. I think I'm kind of in between. You're exactly right. It's more experienced beekeepers that are wanting certain genetics. There are some beginners that like dive in head first. You're probably one of those people, you know, that'll try stuff that aren't scared. I'll get some of those. I don't do as much big commercial orders. I do some, but I purposely put my prices above, you know, like a commercial, people will be like, oh, queen sell $5. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not selling the same type of genetics they are. I put 15 price tag each on mine, and if they order volume, I'd cut them a break. But they shy away from it unless they really want those genetics. Most of them want a breeder.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Most of the bigger commercial guys are going to want an AI breeder because they've got the capability to make all the queens that they want to.
Exactly,
So that they're looking for the pure that they can raise daughters off of.
Which I've got several commercial operations that are running my stock, and like they're running to California and running almonds and doing the whole gamut, which is awesome. You know, so. But like I said, the ones I'm after, I don't want a little one hive, don't die. I want something that's productive too.
So what does your, I don't even know what you would call this, warranty rate be?
As far as like replacements?
Yeah, replacements. The ones that you ship out and they arrive dead, or the ones that arrive alive but then they don't work out?
Most of them, they either show up dead or I don't have problems, is generally how it goes. Now you're going to have, some that
don't return from mating flights.
Yeah, exactly. There's a percentage of success that varies.
So do you just guarantee live arrival?
I guarantee live delivery,
okay.
Yep. And like I can't guarantee your bees won't kill my queens, you know what I mean? Because it happens some. But I also have some, we can touch on virgin intro if you'd like. I have some instructions that'll increase your success, but a lot of people have talked to their local bee club and like, here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm like, don't do it that way. They're like, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm like, okay. Because I'm not gonna force my way upon you, but
tell somebody once, and then if they want to do what they want to do, you just
people are gonna do what they're gonna do. I'm the same way, you know what I mean? I gotta learn from the burn.
So, how many nukes are you selling?
I keep cutting back because a percentage of them that I'm selling now are artificially inseminated. They're harder to get started. There's a lot more labor and special, care involved, and they're a lot more expensive. But, in my heyday, I would sell maybe 40 or 50 nukes a year. I don't even do a fraction of that now. It just keeps getting smaller.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to where I have a select group of customers that really like what I'm doing and overpay me. It's gotten to where they're about the only ones now that I'll make them for a few locals, or like my buddy that I had entomology classes with. He wanted some for research and he wanted my VSH stock, so he got a nice bunch of nukes this year, but it keeps getting smaller. My main focus goes into virgins and cells, and then II or AI queens, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. So your income streams are virgins, queen cells, nukes,
Breeder
which
stock.
is getting smaller and smaller, are artificially inseminated breeders,
Yep.
and honey.
Yep.
So how many of the breeders do you sell typically? I know this year was different because you were finishing up your master's in entomology in the spring.
It varied according to how I booked them. I was selling them, I would inseminate them fresh and gone. So they were unproven layers, so they come with a little bit of risk, but they're cheaper. I would do 8 to 10 a week, and then I didn't start till, end of April, May, and mid-June, so you know what I mean? And I keep a weekly schedule because I know how old they are, because I have a queen rearing schedule to where every weekend I've got a bunch of queens emerging, and then I inseminate them on days, approximately day 9, day 10. And so I have it set up to where I'm collecting semen on Fridays. They'll keep for 2 weeks, and then whenever they're of age, I'll inseminate them and then ship them too. So it's everything is on top of each other. So I've got a queen rearing schedule, and then I marry an insemination schedule on top of that. So it gets completely insane. Like I said, I don't watch. I don't have
your
time
calendar.
to watch.
I do not envy that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I burnt myself out this year because I didn't finish my master's classes. I didn't graduate till mid-May, and I was already a month into queen rearing. Usually it'd have been 6 weeks, but it was late this year.
Yeah.
Month into queen rearing plus regular maintenance, and I don't lose a lot of swarms either, because if I lose a swarm, that was 100 queens.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that, so I stay on top of them. So yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Most people lose a swarm and they think, well, there goes my 2 supers of honey.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, there goes $2,000.
80 pounds, 80 pounds of honey. Right. A little more painful for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I sell virgins for 20 a piece, small quantities for 25. So if you lose 100, it's a couple bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much honey do you produce?
I don't focus as much on honey production because I split a bunch, but I don't know. I don't think we have a very big average here too. Out of my production colonies, they'll make 1 to 3 supers each.
10 frame mediums?
Yeah, 10 frame mediums, yeah.
Okay. So
and you can see a lot of them.
35, 40 pounds a piece.
And I just pulled once the past several years.
80 to 100 pounds average on your production hives. You've still got a bunch of production hives out here.
Yeah, and this was a
do you
good
think
year. A lot of times I don't even have a 3rd super on them, but I don't have to feed them a ton.
Yeah.
So honey is genetics and breeding is my main focus in queen production, and honey is just kind of a cherry on top.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting any money the later part of the year. That kind of,
Well, it's a diversification as well.
Exactly, absolutely.
Hey, do you offer any queen rearing courses?
I do, yeah. I've been teaching them around Missouri for quite some time. I may do some. I was going to say I could do some online, but I really don't like to do them if you can't get your hands on that grafting and have hands-on, because books and coaching's great, but until you see how big that larvae is that you need to be getting and then have somebody grade you on it, no, that's too big, that's the one you want, or here's the perfect size.
Yeah.
you know, that's the meat and potatoes of it. And COVID kind of hosed that up, but that's when I was taking my master's classes, so I didn't really miss not doing those. So I'll probably do more, but.
And then you're also teaching instrumental insemination.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm contracted for through Penn State. I'm going to be teaching that with Sue Kobe, which is who I learned from.
All right, so you are a treatment-free VSH queen breeder. You're using treatment-free not as something that people get almost religious or fanatical about it.
It's not I'm not dogmatic.
You're using it as a tool to put natural selection pressure on your bees.
Yeah.
You don't use antibiotics, you don't use miticides of any kind.
Yep.
And you are testing for VSH traits using Haribo's VSH assay.
Correct.
So you are really almost like a grandparent brood stock type producer. You're pushing genetics out.
Exactly.
And that's really what you're selling. You're not selling bulk queens, you're selling genetic traits.
Right, exactly. And there's a difference too. A lot of people, like even whenever I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm a queen breeder. But I would buy breeders and then just make a ton of queens because I was good at queen rearing. I wasn't a breeder, I was a queen producer. So there's a difference between the two. I think a lot of people that are producers think of themselves as breeders, and some of them are doing some selection, you know what I mean? If you're doing some selection, then you're into the breeding end of things. But yeah, I'm specifically a breeder.
So how does one person with 200 hives or less produce 2,000 queens in 3 months?
I don't watch TV and I don't have free time and my family helps out.
All right, so your schedule, you're grafting on a
Monday, yeah, unless weather blows me out. But I can go one day or the other and then straighten it up the next week if I need to.
And then you're working through the week, and on Saturday, Sunday, what are we doing?
Saturday, I mean, usually we got queens coming out Friday night into Saturday. So
they're in the incubator at that point.
Yep. And then as soon as they start emerging, my kids usually go through them and they'll run them into candy cages because they'll die pretty quick if you don't put them in a candy cage. And then within 24 to 48 hours, so either Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, I'm putting attendants in there. Because they'll start curling up if they don't. 24 to 48 hours, you got to put quality attendants in there.
They've got to have bees around them.
Yeah.
And this is assuming this is not your first graft of the year. You've got queens that are already emerging in the incubator. So this would be the second or third week of the season, not the first.
Yeah.
So queens are emerging Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. You're grading those, make sure they've got...
Everybody looks good.
Yeah, everybody looks good. They've got legs, they've got wings, they're too small or whatever.
They get cold,
they get cold out.
Yep.
Going into a candy cage with queen candy, and then Monday you're at the post office shipping them.
Yeah, UPS next day air. That's the only thing I ship.
You're not at the post office, you're at UPS next
Correct.
day air.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing too, as you mentioned, you know, like my percentage of, because I guarantee live delivery. If they show up dead, I just send you new ones. Whenever I switch to next day air, I'll have a freak shipment every now and then that gets lost, but generally
your dead loss through the post is gone way
minimal.
down.
Yeah, even during COVID when it was a little goofy, they were still pretty dang reliable.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then Monday, the rest of the day, you go and pull grafts and
run them to the incubator, graft again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then every weekend, like it's like clockwork, I've got queens coming out. Because like I said, I work a day job. I take off every Monday during that time frame. And so, you know, like I'm working my day job Tuesday through Friday. And then a lot of times I get off work at 3 or whatever, I'm back out in the bees. Busy.
And you kind of look at this as you would love to be full-time at it.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to be doable until some life things
I really
change.
Want to have the house and the farm paid off.
Yeah, house and farm paid off. You need insurance.
Yeah.
You need all this stuff before you really feel like going deeper into it.
And I felt like too, if I stayed at my job for 20 years, so I got about 6 years or so left to pay off the house and the farm if I don't make extra payments. If we get blessed, maybe sooner. But about the same time, you know, this is my 14th year with the company, so about the same time, you know, I could have 20 years in and then have everything paid off and then maybe just do my own thing for a while, and then, you know, whenever I start wearing out, tap the 401k or the pension plan.
Yeah.
We'll see.
The older you get, the less physical
That's the
work
thing
you wanna
too,
do.
is I think that, like, I mean, I'm 40 now, and I can tell every 10 years there's a change in your body, you know, and stuff. And like 40, like I'm going full tilt, and I pushed really hard to get the degree done, you know, and like next year I think I'm gonna take her back just a little notch. Not quit, not squirrel or go right or left. I'm just gonna kind of ease into, because I know which way I'm going, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna kind of throttle her down a little bit.
Yeah, I turned 40 and my back started hurting, and I gained 10 pounds. I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah. I've been eating good. I work out a little bit, but I eat pretty heavy too.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, it sounds like you have, without hiring labor, you're about maxed out on hive counts and what you're able to do. You can maybe get more queens made, especially if you get some labor.
Yep.
But really the only way that you're going to get a lot bigger from here, because you're at an equilibrium where you're happy doing what you're doing. It's not too burdensome at this point.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not trying to do a whole lot more, you know.
Yeah. I think it's important for people, especially if you're ambitious and young and optimistic. It's easy to bite off more than you can chew. I have that tendency, and I've learned as I've gotten older to not do that.
What did Bob Benny say? That's how he learned? He said he would bite off more than he can chew and then figure out how to chew.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds like me a lot of times.
It sounds painful.
It does, it is, yeah. But I've kind of hit that equilibrium to where
you're happy where you're at.
I'm happy where I'm at. If the market just gets crazy, and I thought about like Ian Stepler, I'd talk to him. He talks to local ag teachers and stuff. If I could find a young kid that's into it, like it doesn't just need to be a job. It'll be a job, but they need to be into it. And if they've got some natural skill, and I could start, you know what I mean, delegating out certain responsibilities without seeing a loss in quality, because if I do, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But if I could outsource some of that, I think I could scale it up, you know, if the business was there. And I think it'll continue to grow, you know, so I don't know, we'll see.
I think labor is usually
that's a big hang-up.
The hardest component to scale.
Yeah, and I'm so picky. Like for a long time, I wouldn't grow because I wouldn't let anybody else in my bees, you know what I mean? Like, not because I have something to hide, because I don't want them rolling queens and messing stuff up, you know?
Nobody can do it right but you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the way I felt. Now I've got enough bees to where I'm like, you know, if they were good, I'm not impossible. I mean, we're going to have accidents. I have accidents, you know what I mean? Occasional queen's going to get rolled or something crazy is going to happen. But I'm to the point now to where if it was the right person, you know. My kids will do a lot. Like, they've handled thousands and thousands of queens. They're not really into beekeeping, and it's grunt work too, you know. So they'll help me to an extent, but like I've maxed out what my teenagers and what my wife are willing to do too. So if I get bigger, it'll be because I've had to outsource some stuff, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Go from there, but we'll see. I mean, there's potential there, but it's like that's the thing with labor too, is if you're hiring people, it's not a year-round job unless you get to a certain size to where you're delivering honey or stuff like that too. It's so seasonal, you know. So
your operation's profitable?
Yeah.
You're happy?
Yeah, the thing is, it went from an expensive hobby
to
yielding a profit whenever I learned how to rear queens.
I tell you, that's where I'm at, is I'm trying to get my infrastructure to a point where I can handle the workload that it's going to take to have the hive count that it's going to take for me to turn a profit.
Yeah, well, you've got resources, man. If you're running 40 colonies or so, you could yield a bunch of queens out of that.
Yeah.
And just sling them locally, you know?
Well, I'm really into honey. Like, I just think it's fascinating, it's delicious, it's wonderful, and that's where my real passion is.
The two war a bit.
Yeah.
Like, because the thing is, too, is, and maybe you could find that happy median, but those big colonies that you love to see that are going to make the most honey, those are the ones that get sacrificed.
That make the best builders.
Yeah. But I mean, if you just picked a few out, you could yield your own queens. Like but you'd have to use them quick.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I can get 100 out of a big colony. You probably wouldn't need more than 100 queens. You know what I mean? So you could maybe just sacrifice one and get everything you need.
Yeah. But it may be something I get into.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do it unless I can be really good at it.
Right.
That's my personality. There's a Bible verse that says, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might.
Yep.
And I would rather not do something than halfway do it.
That's the way I am too. Yeah.
I've got to be great at it.
Yep.
So
I'm obsessed with that.
I think if there's a point I would like to make to the people watching this video, is that there's a lot of different ways you can have a sideline operation that's profitable with bees. And you need to figure out what you're good at and what you're passionate about and do that really well.
Exactly.
You know, whether it's honey or nukes or queen rearing or
a blend.
Yeah, or whatever.
You could do a blend.
Yeah, you can do a blend of those things. Diversification is a good thing.
Big time.
Yeah, because some years are going to be bad honey years. Some years will be great honey years.
Yep. And that's the thing with queens is like you've cranked out a bunch, whether or not you have a good honey year or not, you've already made your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one little bee. She wasn't happy with me either. Now she's moved on to you.
One of us is going to get stung in the face before this is over with.
Yeah, if you pull off your hat and kill her, we can just clip that out. It's just her, I feel like. See, she's headbutting me now.
Anything else you want to talk about?
You know, like stock selection.
Yeah.
Host resistance, we got that one. Queen introduction, which ties, I love piggybacking that on to trying to get people to accept virgins and produce virgins, you know, as an economically viable alternative to trying to make mated queens, which is not always economically viable in my opinion. That, what I just talked about, if people will follow that method, I think the industry is going to change the way it looks at virgins, because I think we weren't doing it right for a long time, myself included.
Yeah.
But I think if we mirror nature with that advanced swarming, hopelessly queenless aspect, not broodless, but hopelessly queenless, I think that's a game changer. And I think it's going to allow a lot of micro breeders to actually have a good little side hustle too. You know what I mean? And even if they're not a breeder, if they're a producer, remember I kind of picked those apart too. Some people are breeding, some people are just really good producers. That's what I was for a while.
Yeah.
If they buy really good stock, you don't have to fool with all that selection criteria as much. You know what you're getting. You know you're buying from somebody reputable, and then make thousands of queens out of it. You'll pay for her, you'll change your operation, and you'll sell a whole ton of queens. That's going to change somebody else's operation too. So it starts with the breeding aspect, but not everybody is cut out for that. Like you have to be obsessed, because there's not always a monetary incentive for it, you know.